with us on TMI this beautiful Thursday morning. I'm joined by two gentlemen, incidentally both of them lawyers. In the middle of this conversation, we'll be joined by a third guest so we can expand the scope of the discussion on TMI. Let's just quickly acknowledge Barrister Patrick Awosage. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you. It's my pleasure being here. Hello viewers at home.
Let's also just meet another legal practitioner, obviously. That's not the person than Matthias Obayiwana. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. I just said a while ago behind camera that we have two lawyers on the program this morning, and that's because a chunk of our discussion this morning has legal elements. And I want to begin with you, Obayiwana. Hate speech has become the buzzword right now, and we understand that that has a place in the eye of the law. You want to walk us through what the law says about hate speech and what constitutes it?
Yes, the criminal code has made sufficient provision for offenses that now be classified as hate speeches. You know, when you make a statement that is inciting, try to incite a riot, try to make people have disaffection, even for the state or for others, in order to cause a war of violence. That is hate speech. That is an offense under the criminal code. When you also make comments that are not true, you know, the mindset of manipulating the psyche of the people to get them to do, you know, acts of violence or things that ordinarily they would not have done against the state, against other persons, you know, that also amounts to criminal defamation. You know, so we also classify as hate speech because what you are saying about that person is not right. You are saying it to demean the integrity and the person of the, you know, of the victim of that statement. You know, that is criminal defamation under the relevant criminal code. When you do that on the internet, the Cyber Crimes Act is there. They also make provision for such, you know, for such comments. Any offense that you commit, you know, using the cyberspace, because more of these things are, you know, in the glare of the social media. So the cyberspace is concerned. So by the time you look at the Cyber Crimes Act, you look at the existing criminal code, you know, such offenses could be prosecuted effectively.
From what you're seeing today, would you say categorically that as it stands right now, the law is able to address instances of hate speech adequately in terms of enforcement?
In terms of enforcement, none of these laws have been tested. Okay. As we speak, the only one that was near it was the comments that was ascribed recently to some political actors concerning the CGN's issue. Right. Like 30 persons went to the house to go and you know, to harass the occupants, and the government came out to say that is not true, that such thing never happened. So that amount to, you know, a hate speech or falsehood, none of that. That was what was even near it. But the police invited them over, and they went to court for court to restrain the police from infringing on their rights, because under the Constitution, there's a fundamental human right of freedom of expression and to hold opinion. But these rights are not absolute. There are limitations. So you have a right to express your opinion. You have a right to, you know, to speech, to free speech. But when you do that in a way that you disparage another person, when you do that to pass information that is not correct with the intention, you know, of impugning the integrity of another person and creating disaffection in the minds of others against that person, you are committing an offense. So the rights are not absolute rights. They are limited by the relevant criminal law.
And those rights come with responsibilities too.
Yes, exactly, responsibility. So if the court had not stopped the arrest and the possible prosecution of such persons suspected to have made such comment, maybe that would have been the first test case within this era, you know, political era. You know, but there's really none that I can point my fingers at. But there are sufficient laws to prosecute any offender.
Okay, let me turn to your colleague here, Barrister Awosage. We've seen politicians talking back and forth across party lines. I mean, from all sides. A lot of times we understand that these speeches constitute ultimately hate speech. But then again, we're beginning to see, as some persons believe, the absence of will to push the law to the point of addressing in real time instances of hate speech in this country. What's your take on that?
I'm trying to rephrase properly.
The point is, you see instances of what people would call hate speeches, particularly from the political elites. And yet, just as Barrister Abayiwana here alluded to a while ago, we have laws that address these issues of hate speech.
Okay.
Ironically, we still don't see people being prosecuted over instances of hate speech. Why do we have that reality?
Well, the obvious is clear. When you say someone has gone to slander, defame your character as the case may be, the only thing to do is to go to court and ensure you get justice, and whoever the offender should be prosecuted and given his own fair share. But the truth is that most of what we call hate speech, or speeches as the case may be, may in the actual analysis not be hate speeches. There may be some elements of truth. Behind every rumor, or in every rumor, there are ingredients of truths in it. So they would not want to go out there, to subject that issue to critical analysis, which will expose more things. I remember a scenario that played out of a young man who was angry over, I think he took his tenant to the police station, and issues came up like that he has refused to pay him. And the tenant they said the tenant kept calling him a thief or something like that he's a fraudster and all whatnot. And along the line, at the station there, a woman came and said, he knew you somewhere and things like that. Before you know it, they said, he's the one that's defrauded me. He came for another issue, but another matter was...
One thing led to another.
One thing led to another. So in a situation like that, Fidel Castro, I will always quote him, said, to be moral in an immoral society is immoral. The truth is this. Every man on the street that tried to say, well, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to contest, you have made certain commitments to people, and there are certain agreements that have been reached, and there are certain secrets that they know about you. Well, how does the Salisu Buhari and all of that? He was just minding himself before he came with the Toronto story. I mean, the speaker then. Now, if you look at all of this, they all have skeletons in their cupboard, in as much as no mortar is perfect. But there are a lot of issues. So before somebody wakes up and says, this is what Mr. Uye has done, and this is what I know Uye, he may not just be talking of, in as much as he may not have all the substance to buttress it. It may not be something that may be justiciable, it may not be something that may come up. But if you come up to say, well, this man is like the issue, okay, let me bring another issue of the musician. The Plantation Boys, they have been having this long running battle. You stole my song, I wrote African.
Blackface and Two-Face.
Yes, I wrote African Queen, you took it up there. His fans all over the world have said, what's wrong with that man? He has failed, he should go and find a life somewhere. But the guy is still insisting. Now, because of his resilience and the way he has been going about it, people are beginning to say, are you sure something didn't really happen? You can see, if it cannot be this tenacious, if there was nothing that happened in between.
Right.
So he's still insisting, and Pufe said he's going to sue him and all of that, and we have had this thing going on and on. So this is it. So it cannot be totally free from that. If we look at it with the eyes of the law, in as much as we know they will definitely come to terms and settle themselves whatever way they want to do that. But I'm saying, if the way the word initially, this is not the way they viewed it at the initial, that's not how they viewed it now. So that is the same way it is. So when we talk of hate speech, what constitutes hate speech? You just say, I wouldn't just wake up. And that's one of my very learned seniors have said that, yes, I have freedom of expression, I have my right. It's limited, absolutely.
It's not absolute.
It's not, I know it's not absolute. I know it's limited. But if I have something, I say I owe that right to say, look at what I know. But when you bring me out, and I know, and the reason they will not want them prosecuted is because when those young men or whoever is involved is brought to the fore, he's going to open a whole lot of can of worms. So nobody wants to really prosecute, so we can now have a way of trying to deal with ourselves inwardly.
The government is taking measures now, regarding this hate speech, even fake news.
Okay.
It's as if there are measures being put in place.
Measures being put in place?
Yeah, exactly.
How many have, like you just said?
To track a few,
yes.
To track some persons on the social media, especially those who have become what they call social media influencers. Isn't that the right step?
Yes, they have been tracking. We're talking about tracking. We have all these tracker gadgets everywhere. I'm not talking of tracking. I'm talking of prosecuting someone.
But don't you have to track? And
they have been tracking before from time immemorial. They have all the wherewithal. Government owns everything.
So you're saying we're not doing enough?
We're not doing enough. We're not doing enough. Like you just said, okay, look, I was somewhere in Dubai trying to cross the road at the zebra cross. You know what I did? I ran through. I felt stupid because everybody was looking at me like one bushman. Why will I run through at zebra cross? And everybody quietly walked past. And I was asking myself, what have I done? I felt so ashamed of myself. The reason, because all the vehicles coming, they always stop at the zebra cross. Okay. But our own zebra cross here don't function. So if you are saying, you know, the government, we have had this over time. Is it today? It's been long. Let's have a genuine and a true matter in court. Somebody on account of this, he has been convicted. Oh, everybody will have to behave well. So until that is done, the idea of maybe we are watching you, the director of SSS is here with you. Nobody is interested in that. Look at the rubbish that is going on the social media. Look at the way they masked the former president Olusegun Obasanjo and masked him like a monkey. Is that the many? No matter what, don't we have regard and respect?
Well, whose place is it to take up a case like that for yourself?
No. Yes, in as much you have said that's the former president of the country.
Of course.
For crying out loud, it should be respected at all costs. No matter my political or whatever affiliation I have, you should. Do you know what it means? This is a man that fought civil war in this country. He has suffered so much. In as much as we must say whatever you hold about him, I'm not a politician. I've never been.
Yeah, but that office has to be respected.
That office has to be respected. So it's the duty of the government, not encouraging subtly. When I mean encouraging, they won't come out openly to say we are encouraging you. When those trying to campaign for you, they are making such, you should call them to order. I remember, I want to use the Bible again. A man came to David in the Bible and said, I'm the one that killed Saul. And Saul was David's enemy. He wanted to kill David. And David said, how dare you lay hand on God's anointed, and he made sure that man died for it. So that is how it should be. Politics is not a do or die. We should have some
let's move on to a different
respect for
I want to come back to ourselves. Hopefully, let's hope government will issue a statement along that line. We hope so.
We hope so. Yes. We really hope so.
But let's move on to something else. Just this week, I mean, if you look at many of the events that took place in this country this week, one of them prominently is the 15th edition of the famous Gani Fawemi annual lecture, where notable senior lawyers were gathered and they lent their voices to many of the issues we are up against in this country right now, especially along the line of the 2019 general election. One of those issues had to do with not just INEC, but the independence of INEC as guaranteed by the law. But away from the independence of INEC, they also talked about specifically how that the Constitution and the Electoral Acts both guarantee INEC the prerogative to set the rules, the best rules for conduct of elections in this country. But again, the resident electoral commissioner for INEC in Akwa Ibom State, who was at the event in Lagos at Ikeja, Barrister Mike Igini, obviously a lawyer too, said that the biggest threat to the independence of INEC is the political elite in this country. How much does that weaken the law itself?
It doesn't weaken the law. It is lack of political will, you know, and the sagacity of any resident electoral commissioner.
Yes.
You know, and is the morality and fear of God in them to ensure that they keep to integrity. You see, you are a resident electoral commissioner, an umpire. Political stalwart or big wit, whether in the country, in the political party, they will always want to come forward to try to influence you, your decision one way or the other. You know, you are an independent umpire, you should be firm in your decision. To say, look, this cannot be, I will give the vote, you know, according to the figures I have on my record, to the person who has actually won the elections. I will not change the figures. I will not manipulate anything for anybody. The ground rules have been set from the onset, and we are all aware of it, so play by the rules. So I will not bend the rules for anyone. So it belongs on them to hold on to that flag of integrity, you know, in order to win the confidence of the people. So to say, because political, they will only be there. He say, someone said that he that pays the piper dictates the tune.
Right.
But in this case, I would really say that the executive pays is the one that paying them, the piper, because the executive must send the bill to the National Assembly, or the people's representative who must approve of it before the money is released.
Right.
If the money will be approved by a budget and that will pass, and the money is not released by the executive, the people of Nigeria will also ask questions. Why is this money not being released? So the idea of, because the money is being released by the executive, then the executive or whichever party that's in power will be the one to dictate the pace, for INEC to take one or two decisions. That would be wrong. So they are called Independent National Electoral Commission. So they must hold on to that flag of integrity and show that independence. So they cannot be talking about independence at this time around now. At the same time, when you are complaining or showing discomfort that will political bigwigs may likely influence your decision. So such persons who who cannot hold on to their oath of allegiance and integrity should not find their places in position like the office of the INEC, because we need men whose consciences cannot neither be bought nor sold to be in such positions, yes, of accountability, to ensure that, because election in this country, INEC has the key to ensure that the stability in this nation. You can see the way the political actors are throwing mud at each other over who will be president, who will be governors, who will be members of the House of Rep and Senate, and all of that on political party line. You can see people leaving the ideology of the political party, the objective or whatever it is that they are selling to the people to make them vote for them, rather than doing that they are attacking the image of the other. So when the issue of the hate speeches and all of that is on both sides of the divide, because I've watched Kinley. It's on both sides. He talked about how somebody was cartooned out to look like a monkey, and I'm sure the other person on the other divide also cartooned to look at something else. So these political actors on both sides are guilty of this. Yeah, they sign their pacts to ensure that there will be peace. But if you go through the social media and look at the conversation between supporters of one political party and the other, it's always laced with insolence. You don't find people discussing issues, and really looking at the issues without putting the persons. They will discuss persons, they will attack personalities, they will throw insult and mud and even threaten each other, even in social media, over elections. Meanwhile, elections should not be a do or die affair.
Right.
Put in your candidate forward, show your objective, whatever.
Campaign in a violence-free manner.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, whoever wins the election, takes it. So INEC has a pivotal role to play and must not be influenced by any other. So it is with the judiciary, because when INEC is done with its own, the whoever is not happy goes to the tribunal. And so judges and judicial officers should also stand their ground to ensure that this take a political bigwig will not come and influence any decision. You look at the issues according to law, deliver judgment based on law, and whoever is on the right side of the law should take the day, and not because one person is reaching out to you and all of that. So we should always hold on to that flag of integrity, both the INEC, the judiciary, who have played this major role, because INEC must play its own first before it comes to the judiciary. So the first point of it now is INEC. INEC must not be influenced, must not open themselves to be influenced,
by the
must not start, must not start complaining now of efforts or attempts being made at them to influence them. You have been put in there as independent national electoral.
We're going to talk a little more about the independence of INEC, because we can't take that away from the narrative, especially when we talk about elections at this very crucial period. We're taking a quick break to allow my third guest to join us on set this morning. Do stay with us.
TMI, every opinion counts.
I've been joined by Felix Osarieme. He's a lecturer at the Department of History and International Studies, University of Benin. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you and good morning.
I'm just going to saddle you quickly now so you can lend your voice to this conversation. We've been talking before you showed up. I made mention of an event that happened in Lagos just this week. It was actually in honor of late Gani Fawemi. It was the 15th edition of the annual lecture in honor of him, and we had notable lawyers and academics at that event who actually gave remarks at the event. One of the issues raised was the issue of free, fair, credible elections, because ultimately, after all of this talk is done and over with, Nigerians want to see free, fair, and credible elections delivered. Incidentally, we're just a matter of days from the first round of elections. What are you feeling about this whole process so far?
Sincerely, the political situation in the country today calls a lot to question. The Independent National Electoral Commission is appearing as if they have not gotten their acts together. Even though what they are saying on one side looks as if they are really ready, on the other side, it looks as if they may not be capable of delivering on their mandate. Because we are having a lot of information, comments, complaints, questions from different spectrum, and even from the commissioner himself. Okay, take an instance, the issue of PVCs. People are still complaining continuously that they go to the different centers to collect their PVCs. They are still having issues, even at this point in time. And the window is already closing for them to get their PVC. And you are saying that you can only vote if you have your PVC. Yet it is not easy to get PVC. Some people go to the office and say, come tomorrow. This time you have to go to the local government office of INEC in your jurisdiction, that is in your constituency, to get it. And it is not as easy as it can be. And it could have actually been made easier. Let me take a slight digression. If you go to the bank and you want to get an ATM card, it's instant.
On the spot.
They can even print your name on it on the spot.
And make it active instantly.
Instantly. That is the kind of thing we are saying. If INEC is serious, that thing could have been done for everybody who wanted PVC. So why go through this ordeal of you have to submit your documents, you have to write your name down, you have to come back on that time? This is part of the problem we are talking of. This is 2019. The computer age is where we are now. Digital age. And it is now somebody will tell you that you have to put your data down, you come back 2 weeks time, they will tell you that they are not ready. Sometimes they say their server is down. It makes me hollow. That's why I said for INEC, that is one challenge. The issue of candidates in places like Zamfara and Rivers is still being argued upon. And I think the Court of Appeal just gave a ruling that they should stay action on that. So that is another area. INEC is not really talking like INEC. If INEC is really capable of speaking as an independent, they've said it. If you have any issue with what they have said, go to courts. So they should be able to stand their ground or say this. But again, this is Nigeria. We cannot talk outside the context of Nigeria. And in Nigeria, the political class does everything possible to get their way, even if it means sometimes bringing the country to its knees. So if INEC is acting the way it's acting, one should also understand that this is the Nigerian version, and that it will take somebody of great personal integrity and capacity to stand up to the system and tell the system, this is the wrong thing, this is the right thing we're going to do, and we're going to do it right.
I had a conversation with a few persons just 2 days back, and they were talking about how the Nigerians would argue and curse themselves out on social media, Twitter and Facebook, and even in person. Yes. And then, of course, at vendor stand. Exactly. Then, in the end, they don't go out to cast their votes. What does that say about the evolution of our political history?
It's a sad development, and even as of yesterday, I still had this kind of argument with some artisans. They kept telling me their vote will not count, they're not going to vote. That day they will just stay at home. And I told them, this is the
But don't they have a point, frankly, in that?
They do, but it doesn't solve the problem. Okay, if you keep saying, I will not go and vote, then you cannot complain when there is nothing going on well in your system after the election. And I kept telling them, I'm not asking you to vote for candidate A or B. I'm simply asking you, go out and cast your vote. Because the process in election is very clear. You register, you vote, and if you are so disposed, you wait there till counting is done before you leave, and monitor, follow the process. Please, who actually does it for any other person? This is democracy. Democracy is about you and I. Inclusiveness, participation in governance. So to say, if I vote, they will not count it. How do you know? Go and vote first. So the public is still very, very apathetic to public issues. Some of them still believe that government is for those people who are in the administration. We are on the other side. And to that point, they have actually given up even before the struggle has commenced. And the issue of awareness is very important. INEC is not even doing much in terms of voter education. The National Return Agency is not doing much. The Ministry of Information is not really doing much. It's even social media that is doing the work now. And social media, we know what is happening there. Most times it is personal mindset that you see, not really collective explanation, logical reasoning. So social media is where the argument is going. And as we rightly observed, most of our young people are the ones actually also very vibrant social media. Ask them, do you have PVC? He will say, no, by photo. I said, but you don't even have a PVC. And you're on social media burning data, arguing, quarreling. There's no police station on social media. Right. No vote to be counted on social media, but it's for awareness. We should also not forget about that place has given a lot of awareness. It is whether the awareness will translate into the reality of going out that day on the 16th of February to cast your vote. That is the question. Some people don't even know now that there is a procedure for voting. And these are the kind of things, the sensitization should be very, very emphatic. The political class too, they are simply saying, vote for this party, vote for that party. How do you vote? What do you do before you vote? If I was to be a candidate, I'll make sure that everybody in my constituency, that's what I'll be asking. Where is your PVC? As you are coming to a rally, please raise your PVC, bring it out to the rally ground. Those are the kind of things. Do you hear that one in rallies? No. Everybody say, go and vote, go and vote. The magic to vote is the PVC. Where is it? And people are complaining bitterly, openly, even in different fora, that the things are in some of the offices, they can't even access them. They say they go to the people and say, come back tomorrow, come next week. These are people that are also working. Why would you ask them to always leave? But I also told one, I said, look, you need to make sacrifice to get anything good. Right. Nothing good actually comes easy. So there should be consistent effort on the part of citizens to actually actualize that capacity, because it is a way of losing out up front. Whether the government is good or bad, you have a stake in it. Right. And if the government is going to be good, you need to start putting in your voice.
So let's talk about this a bit more, just to allow you to lend your voice to it. We have people who even have PVCs, because he made an allusion to those who obviously do not have. And we have them in millions in this country because they are not interested, ultimately. But there are those who have, but just feel it's solely for the purpose of bank transactions. That's on the one hand. Then vote buying is a phenomenon now. And we hear it's beginning to have many faces. What's your take on that?
It's clear, and that's the truth, because on religious grounds, they say, well, we don't vote, you know, but every document, every PVC they get, like I confronted some, why will you now go? I said, well, we just have to, but we don't vote. Jesus is our what now?
Leader.
He's our leader, and then he's the one that will ensure everything, whether that's on religious ground. Now, but now for those that have their PVCs, now you really want to know why. Now the big question is, what have their PVC done for them in time past? The ones that went to vote. I remember very clearly when Adams Aliyu Shomale was running for governor, and a young man who labored night and day, does all the many jobs, and he eventually found himself in Ambrosali University, graduated, and then when Adams Shomale came on board, he said, yes, this is the time we have been waiting for. The misrule of the past government will be done with, and he came out. You know, he got killed. He was shot and he died in a primary school. About Kenzwa Primary School around Oliha Aziz. You know what the father said? When Adams Oshomale went to pay a condolence visit, he said he's happy that his son did not die in vain. But afterwards, when things changed, you know, people began to say, well, that boy actually died for nothing. You understand? But I'm not trying to dig up old stuff that have happened. People have learned their lessons. Where are the president's kids during the rallies? Where is Yusufu Buhari? Where are the children? They are in England. They are facing their life and studying. Where are Atiku's children? I even heard, I am not very, very sure of that, but I heard that one of the daughters is a commissioner in his state, in Adamawa. A commissioner under APC, and he is contesting as the presidential candidate of the PDP. So what is all this talk about? The point is this: the younger generations, they are beginning to look, I cannot earn 30,000 naira as basic salary, you know, minimum wage, and I hope to drive a good car, I hope to live the good life. Don't you think these people are just recycling themselves and manipulating us? Don't you think we need to find our way to Europe or somewhere to go and find a life for ourselves? So this is what, becloud their minds. So they are not sure of a government, the sincerity of government. And, okay, look at ASU now. ASU have been on strike for over 90 days. As a university undergraduate, I had 10 months strike at home. At the time, I forgot that I was a student. My brother called me and said, when they asked me then, I forgot which level I did again. Am I in 200 level or 300? I didn't know again. So it was something, Olumati is aware, you know what we are saying. So I didn't know the level I was. I don't know when I'm graduating. So this many, and you haven't graduated, you now face another hurdle of going to youth service. Now when you are back from service, you now start a fresh movement of suffering. You know, these are the many issues. Hold on, sir. Please, let me learn. What I'm trying to say, we're talking about the PVC.
Right.
What is making them not? Because if I really see it as, okay, give them visa. You see, an average Nigerian wants to jump at every visa to run out because he believes that when I get to that unknown land, things will work well for me. They will feel better for me and they will treat me well. And that is the truth. So for you to say, well, they are there, they have their PVC, they just bear their mind on social media. For you to call them to say, well, they feel they are doing whoever is getting into office a favor. If you are contesting for president and you are inviting me to come, okay, Oga, we get boys. So I've become the chairman of the boys. I have about 1,000 young men. So Oga will talk and I'll put the thing for table. Say, okay, young man, how much? Okay, I'll give you 10 million. Say, okay, chair, we are with you. And then I pick up the money and I call my guys. I'm going to take 1 million, settle all those people, pay their transport, give them food. And then I keep 9 million for myself to think of a business to invest in because I'm the chair. So I'm now following you up. I know after you've become president, I won't have a call from you again. So until the next election, that's when we'll now remember the old card we signed or we have. You know, these have been the norm. And you don't expect them to continually be fooled over time to come out and out. I'm not advocating that they should not come out. I'm only telling you the reason why it looks as if they are not ready to come out to vote. Because Joseph Stanley has said, everyone, you know, everything lies in the hands of those that count. And my lecturer have told us here now that the people that are going to count, they are, the body language is like they are not ready. So what are we saying? Somebody is working through INEC. That is how it's looking like. I didn't say, I'm not quoting anything.
If you do an aggregate of all of these issues you've enumerated, does it serve as a basis for selling votes, for example, or for vote buy?
Sorry, sir. They said a hungry man is an angry man. You are talking of selling votes. In short, selling is an understatement. I don't know. If I can find other people's own to steal to sell, you are selling my own. What is my
consequence?
No, I'm only telling you, it has grave consequence. I will eat now like Esau and Jacob. Esau said, give me the porridge and let me eat first. It's not a man that is alive that is talking of what will happen tomorrow. The guys don't have food, no job, no food, no education, nothing. And you are telling him not to sell. What will work on him? It's just English. He's looking for those that will even sell so they can get commission from what they are selling. That is what we are saying. Everything is at a standstill. I mean, ASU is on strike. Students are at home. Don't you know the implication of that, sir? When they are at home, what do you expect? No allowance again. No going around to help lecturer mark and then they can give you lunch for the very poor students. No lies again to tell parents that, daddy, my lecturer, we are doing one thing in school. Nobody is paying you. Everybody is paying you at home.
Third semester.
Yeah, there's a third semester or something. You want to pay one project. My lecturer said we should do something so that we can all travel and go somewhere. No lies anymore. So guys are at home, no money, and they must use data. And you expect them to. So these are many issues we cannot just wish away. And that is it. It's not enough. It's not a good reason. But that is the main reasons. That's leading
Let's
to
talk about something else that's important as we go into these elections proper, Barrister Bayiwana. Some persons say it's too late to cry now because the issue of electoral act is going to remain the same, at least for a while. But where does it leave us now? Looking at the fact that the president did not assent to the electoral bill act, that was the amended one that was sent to him. Does it leave any loophole in the law as far as elections are concerned in this country?
No, it has not left any loophole.
Because some persons are crying over that issue seriously, as if it's going to determine.
Before the electoral act, the bill that was proposed, there have been other electoral acts. The electoral act 2010 was amended, which is the governing act for elections as we speak.
Right.
Also has made sufficient provision. You know, it's an offense to trade with votes. You don't buy votes, you don't sell votes. It has been there in the laws. The bill that was being that the president refused to assent to, you know, talks about online transmission of results.
Okay.
Such a way that when a particular election is done in a particular unit, immediately the officer in charge should transmit the results to the collation center. At which point every other person in that particular zone can see. So the result will be sent. So the idea of manipulating afterwards will not be there. So instant transmission of results. So after the election, the result is taken unit by unit. So in which case, you go to the central pool and the figures are added up on its own.
Until elections are concluded.
Until elections are concluded, which actually would have made it more credible. But before now, have there not been elections in this country? So talking about the independence of the officers in charge, INEC, if they are truly independent, you know, the result from particular polling unit should not be different from the one that will go to the ward collection center. Then that should be different from the one that will now get to the local government collection center, then the state collection center, and all of that. So the consistency should be there. The agents are there at the various polling units who have their copies of their results, you know, from that polling unit. Right. And you can have that to compare with that that will be sent to the ward collection center or the local government collection center to ensure for consistency. Where there are no consistency, your agent is supposed to collect this result, which will take to your lawyer at the end of the day, you know, to bring a petition, an election petition tribunal for those who is aggrieved with the result. And then the tribunal chairman and members will look at the issues and see whether there are consistency. Where there are instances and proven instances of vote buying and vote selling, you know, we should be able to knock off or cancel those areas where such things happen. Good enough now, under the Evidence Act, you know, it is there that for electoral offenses, because to where in any matter, whether civil or criminal, you know, where commission of a crime is an issue, the standard of proof is beyond reasonable doubt. Okay. You must prove beyond reasonable doubt that certain act of crime took place. But the Evidence Act 2011 have made provisions that in such instances for electoral matters, it need not be proved beyond reasonable doubt, but proof on the balance of probabilities. Because they have discovered that it's often difficult, you know, to prove beyond reasonable doubt in such instances. There's evidence of vote buying and vote selling. And then the issue is that I must go bring the person who is the beneficiary of those, because it takes two to tango. Right. So who offered to sell his vote and who bought. In such circumstances, it's difficult for me to get the persons who have sold his vote and who bought. But I observed that there was vote buying. Perhaps I
saw them do the transaction.
Exactly. Perhaps I recorded it with my phone. And you know, thank God for the mass media who also go there with their cameras and actually observe, you know, this trading for PVC and whatever it is to buy vote to influence people. Where such evidence come before the tribunal, probably reasonable that means that I must go call those persons who actually committed this offense. I must show to the court beyond reasonable doubt that this offense took place. But on the basis of probability, the court could see on its own that this thing probably happened. You know, and then depend on the demeanor of the witness. It depends on the credibility of the witness. Oh, I believe that this thing probably must have happened. So if that is the case, election for this particular area will be cancelled. So the law has made provision for that, to water it down a little, from prove reasonable doubt to on the balance of probability. Is there the evidence at one level? You know, so there are a lot of provisions that they are in the law that these political actors can latch onto through their lawyers when the matter gets to the tribunal. So nobody should have that apathy or that discouragement at this stage to say, oh, the vote buying and vote selling, elections will not count, votes will not count. At the end of the day, let's just forget about even going to go and, you know, on the exercise of franchise. So the exercise of a franchise is a responsibility, it's a duty, you know, that every Nigerian owes this nation to ensure that the right persons are put into power. You cannot refuse not to vote. The particular country, I try to remember the name since. I think we had a discussion on that, you know, sometime in the past. Okay. You know, where it is it's an offense. It's an offense for any, you know, citizen to refuse to vote. A citizen who is of a voting age, perhaps 18 years
or older.
On the day of the election, there's no record that you voted. If there's no record that you voted and there's no reasonable excuse why you couldn't come out to vote, or that maybe you were sick, or one or two things happened that you couldn't vote, that by itself constitutes an offense. You know, so I think it's high time our legislators, you know, began to bring, you know, sponsor bills in that respect. The idea of, oh, my vote will not count, why will I go and vote? You know, we insist that everybody must go out inside a franchise one way or the other.
Incidentally, that's not our reality yet in this country, because we still have a situation where on election day, the ladies are busy watching romance series, and the men are following up on sports and updates. Yeah, because my friend here, the lecturer, has made a point, a very valid point. Right. Why would you go register for vote to get your PVC? Then you have to go back home and come back in another few months to come and get your PVC. Why can't it be done instantly? In such a way that by now, all the PVCs that are yet to be
I got some text messages from INEC recently.
I did too.
Yeah, that I should please come forward to come and if you have not collected, come and collect. I have my PVC already with me. You know, so instead of all of that, why can't you make it at a one-stop as a one-stop shop? Yeah. You come in there to register. The moment you are registered, you are getting your card activated instantly.
After it's a smart card.
Yes. So in which case, every other person will have our own, a PVC, and then the legislation should follow with another law to ensure that if you refuse to vote on the day for voting without a reasonable excuse for not coming to vote, it constitutes an offense for which you could be punished. So it's high time we need to bring such things into existence.
Next week Thursday, which will just be 2 days away from the election, we'll have INEC representative of the program. We can have all of these discussions expounded upon.
Yes. For now, given the fact that the Electoral Act 2010 that we're working with, people can still work with that Electoral Act as it has always been, and if you are not happy about the result of the election, we can always go to the tribunal to seek justice.
We're going to talk about tribunal later as we tie it up on this discussion, but I'm tempted to not let you off so fast. There's another issue very important. INEC has many litigations around the commission right now.
Yes.
Most of them between it and political parties and then their candidates.
Yes.
When we put all of this together, does it drag us back? Does it rub off negatively as far as these elections are concerned?
It doesn't. Because if anyone is aggrieved, by the provision of the same Electoral Act, we are expected to approach the law court rather than taking the laws into your hands.
Yes.
You observe that primaries were conducted for various political parties, and certain persons were aggrieved. Before now, the law was that for any candidate, in the case of Amechi and PDP, I think so, Amechi and INEC, the Omeya. Now, Amechi challenged the PDP, stating that he was the one who won the primaries for the election. And he also made the candidate for the political party.
Right.
Despite the matter that started, pre-election matter that started, they ignored all of that. They went to the election, and eventually PDP emerged victorious. Omeya was governor of Rivers State. Now, Amechi won eventually at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, look, I will not allow a man like this to go with an empty victory. If you have gone through the entire process, only for you, at the end of the day, the political party has won the election, and the Supreme Court came with the position that the political party that fit candidates for the election. And that without political party, candidates on their own cannot go contest for election. So as far as they are concerned, it is the party that contests and wins an election. So any candidate who has won the primaries of that particular party carries the flag of the party. For that reason, Omeya should leave there and Amechi should go resume as governor. That was the position of the law. The Electoral Act 2010 amendment came to cure, or rather to kill that Supreme Court position. Now, to state that if a candidate does not participate in all the stages of the election,
including the primaries,
and the campaigning and the rest of it, such a candidate, whether or not you are declared to be the winner of the primaries, you cannot enjoy the benefit of that victory by becoming, a beneficiary of that victory for particular political party. For example, now if you were the governor, the rightful candidate, for the political party as the governor that are now won, you cannot enjoy the benefit. You cannot be sworn in as governor because you don't participate in all the stages. So the Electoral Act 2010 they came in to nip that decision of the Supreme Court in the bud. So in which case now the law has changed from political party winning election now to candidates themselves winning elections.
Right.
So for the pre-election matters you are seeing in court now, the Constitution has made it clear that all of these issues will be tidied up, or ought to be tidied up before the elections. In such a way that even those who are canvassing for position now, at the end of the day, they turn out to be the winner of that of the litigation in court. So you are the rightful candidate for that election. If we did not participate in all the stages of the election, including campaign and all of that, it will be difficult because the law electoral act stated that no court will declare you, winner or to be returned or sworn in as as a candidate as the winner for that particular election. So that is there in the Electoral Act, which had made it imperative upon the various political actors and even the law court to ensure that these pre-election matters are concluded before the elections.
Okay.
For a smart candidate, as much as you can, if you can conclude the as much as you can, quickly just do something to show that you participated in the stage of campaigns. So at the end of the day, where I participated in all the stages, I went through primaries, I campaigned for my elections, and then we won. Whether my name is there or not, INEC is an umpire.
Right.
INEC is like a nominal party as far as I'm concerned in this litigation, because I was at the Court of Appeal some time ago when INEC was even raising an appeal, making an appeal against decision of the Federal High Court, you know, on the issues of pre-election matters, and the Court of Appeal justices came down hard on the INEC lawyer. What is your own? You are a neutral body. You are an independent body. Whatever it is that the court has decided that it should do, the court gives you directive to say, well, as it is now, this is the man that I adjudge to be the winner of the primaries. Put his name there on the ballot.
And it stays that way.
It stays that way. So you cannot be using taxpayers' money to be challenging the decision of the court. Court say put a party A. You are coming to court. On whose behalf are you coming to court? Who are you supporting in this battle? Two parties are battling. You are the neutral body, the umpire. You are not making an appeal to court against one in favor of another. You cannot do that. So you just stay neutral. Whenever the court say put this person's name on the ballot, yes sir, put the name there. Put another name on the ballot, yes sir, put the name there. The only thing that the INEC complained about in that same lecture you talked about was conflicting decisions from various courts.
Right.
That now they are kind of confused. One court will give one decision, another court will give another decision. What do we now follow? Like, for example, like the case, the River State, River State issue of the APC. This one did primaries, the other one did primaries. They say INEC was not involved, so this one went to court. Okay, cancel the primaries that was done. Don't cancel the other primaries. Don't put. As we speak now, they say INEC's name or APC's name is not on the ballot. But I hear whether the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal now, I had decision to say, look, put the name back on the ballot. So you can see the conflicting decisions coming from different courts.
So where does that leave INEC ultimately?
Exactly. So INEC that's why INEC came to complain, and they complain rightly to say, look, please let the courts try to be coordinated, you know, in the decision that comes out, so that they will know which way to follow.
Exactly.
Because it's whatever you tell us to do, that we will do. So when you not give one decision, you know, for a particular issue, one decision for this, another decision against. Then we are left in a dilemma. We don't know which way to go.
We're going to conclude this discussion very soon. I'm going to give each of us at least a minute to wrap it up. But let's go back to that lecture now, because it's the pivot, as it were, for our discussion this morning. Distinguished Professor of International Law and Jurisprudence, Akin Oyebode, at that same lecture said that the idea of having 91 political parties, which was well intended, has now become what he called a case of the medicine being worse than the disease itself. Sarima, what's your take on that, really? 91 political parties, because a lot of persons are advocating a two-party system.
Well, democratic development does not happen as an accident. It's evolutionary.
Okay.
What we are seeing in Nigeria is an evolutionary process where people have actually been given the opportunity to make choices. And again, the Electoral Act never said that you cannot form political parties. In fact, the Electoral Act actually stipulates the procedure for forming political parties and sustaining such political parties. So, to that extent, the law is the law until it is changed. The law has not changed. So, if people are even advocating that we should have a two-party system, there's nothing wrong with that either. But again, we know in Nigeria that we actually have two dominant political parties and one or two less dominant or less political parties. But essentially, the contest is always between the two dominant political parties, which without discrimination we all know is APC and PDP. So that one is clear. But others are dancing around, and you find continuously that you see some will say we have now decided to
collapse our structure. That's usually the phrase.
Yes, or we'll say we want to support this candidate for this.
That's also not wrong.
Yes, the law has not said anything different. So if the law says it's okay, it's okay. But again, we're also looking at the fact that some of them are actually spoilers. They just come in, they make all kinds of noise, generate tension for the fun of it. Then later they will say they want to latch on to one major political party or the other. Maybe possibly because they believe that all the expenses and the rest will be written off. People have choices to make. The beauty of democracy is the capacity to participate. You are allowed that. Right. So if you now begin to canalize opinion, say you must either belong to this party or that party, then you go back to totalitarian rule. Because under totalitarian rule, you actually have only one political party. All members of the state must belong to that party. That is, in fact, totalitarian resists with democratic.
I'm going to politely bump in on you now. Okay. We need to take a quick break. That will make it possible for us to come back shortly, so we can wrap up this discussion on the program. Don't go away.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thank you for staying with us on the program. We can have free, fair, credible, transparent elections in an atmosphere where you have rancor, violence, and so on and so forth. And as it turns out, every election cycle, the fear of violence is obviously what creates apprehension. What are we seeing this time?
Well, I honestly believe the average Nigerian is better aware now, and the social media have also helped in ensuring election is not a do or die affair.
Right.
Regardless of whoever wins, we're all Nigerians. I will never support foreigners to come and participate in our elections. We are Nigerians. We will run it ourselves. Whoever becomes, whether who is President Buhari, re-elected, Atiku, Bagalu, Oshowore, whoever amongst them, we support. And that's it. Every Nigerian should know at this critical time that your destiny is at stake here. So you have to do the needful. Don't buy, don't sell, don't go there and pick up money and take up arms in the name of you are supporting a big man somewhere that will eventually, he will only win election and forget you in a few days. I honestly believe we are better enlightened now. I encourage the average Nigerian to follow the path of honor. You know, trust God and believe in the system. You cannot say a system is fouled or is faulty when you have not tested it, in as much as we've had series of issues hitherto. Let's give this a try. INEC have said they are ready for the elections. Let's give them, if it turns out the other way, the tribunal is there for us to also channel our grievances. And the courts is there to perfect all that we so desire. And we are very hopeful that the election will be free and fair. We are hopeful that the law enforcement agents will do the needful other than supervising collection of funds on the election ground. We don't expect that to happen. In as much everybody is watching, the entire world is watching. So whatever happens will determine how the world will view Nigeria.
That's important
Yes.
enough to actually emphasize.
Yes.
Violence. So many peace accords across this country have been signed towards the 2019 general election. Is that enough?
Well, signing peace accord is not enough, to ensure violence-free election. Though it's a precursor, it's a necessary first step to get the psyche of political actors, in place, proper perspective that the essence of, the peace accord you are signing is to ensure that you talk to your political followers to ensure that the election should be rancor and violence-free. Because even under the Electoral Act, where issue of violence is reported in any election, it's often difficult to prove that it is the candidate, that sponsored those who committed these acts of violence. Because he must show that it is his own act. He directed those persons who committed the act of violence to carry out that act before you can be held liable for it. So more often than not, the followers will be on their own. So I didn't send them. I just do my own part. So sign the peace accord to have you go back to your people. I may not have sent you to do anything, but don't out of reaction or zealousness begin to engage in acts of violence. So it's necessary first step that it is not sufficient. The security agencies should be smart enough, should be up and doing enough to ensure that such acts of violence are curbed. Don't allow it to degenerate. If they're talking about issue of hate speeches and hate comment and the rest of it, it's a gog in the social media. If you run through the comments from political supporters, it's always laced with insolence, threat, violence, prone comment, all of that. Right. In such a way that when you read through all of that, you put some fear in you that if you could say this on social media, what will happen in real life when I come to vote? If I express an opinion that's against your own position, what will you do to me? But we should learn that election should not, it's not a do or die affair. You should learn from other political leaders like Nelson Mandela of blessed memory. A man who suffered so much for his country, South Africa, for 7 years in prison, as a prisoner of conscience, not because he committed any offense, because he was fighting for the protection of his people. And then he had an opportunity at governance. He did just 1 term. And when they were urging him to continue, he said, no, I'm too old. The other persons who could come on board to get this thing done. So we should see ourselves in that light, being patriotic, really patriotic Nigerians. The election today is not a war. Because I'm happy about the elders who came up recently. I read in the news that because they are actually taking concerns over the kind of issues. Our revered Oba Benin, the monarch of Egwa the second, Oba Atokbe, you know, he himself also has shows some concern over this issue. Say, call the political actors. Let there be a statement that if there are any youth in Edo, we in Nigeria, where Edo is our jurisdiction now, but when we start with Edo, Edo is already the heartbeat of the nation, so it will speak to other part. No youth in Edo should engage in political violence for no reason at all. So whatever it is that you have to do, just go there on that day with your PVC, cast your vote for any candidate of your choice, you know, and your vote will count.
Let me go to Mr. Serime quickly as we tie it up right now. Okay. What are your final words? 2019 general election.
Well, we have a lot of hopes, but those hopes will remain as hopes if we do not actualize them. Okay. The civil populace in Nigeria should be alive to its responsibility. Obligations are not mere wishful thinking. They are actually expectations. One of such obligations is to have your permanent voter's card and go and vote. We know that there are a lot of problems today being in Nigeria. We are aware. In fact, that is why the election becomes an opportunity to attempt to right those wrongs. They may not right those wrongs immediately, but we cannot give up. We should constantly make effort. And this is where the younger generation has almost missed the mark. I am not comfortable with that people keep saying the youth are the problem. No, they are actually victims of what has been going on.
They are the leaders of tomorrow.
They can only become leaders if the path has been properly clear for them and if they now know that they are on the right path. So being leaders, leadership is not a desire. It is a process and it's an effort. There must be commitment. So you don't just say we are leaders of tomorrow and it will happen.
I think that's what we're going to take home. The commitment part of it, not just to
that is why
fight ourselves and chew ourselves out across social media platforms.
That is why
argue our energies away at vendor stands. Go out and cast a vote. And for those who have not collected their PVCs, go to the INEC office where you registered previously and then pick up your PVC so you're able to cast a vote, because it's clear now, no PVC, no votes. It's as simple as that. I want to thank specially my three guests who have been on the program today, starting with the two lawyers here, Patrick Awosagi, and of course, Masayas Obayiwana. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Also, an academic from the University of Benin, the prestigious, I should say, Department of History and International Studies. Felix Sareme, thank you as well.
Thank you very much
for coming. That will be our program today, and we are Mofwebe. I'll see you in 167 hours' time. Enjoy the rest of your day.